Welcome to Wisdom Women, the podcast where we meet empowered women and uncover the stories that shape them. We dive into the role models who lifted them up, the moments that tested them, and what empowerment truly means and what it doesn't mean. From burlesque dancers turned breathwork facilitators to moms who moonlight as entrepreneurs, the wisdom here is raw, real, and undeniably contagious. So get ready to be inspired by the women who've lived it. And please like and subscribe and welcome my guest today, who is Marie Steinel. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I'm so happy that you agreed to come and be a part of this little Wisdom Women podcast. No, Marie, for like years, our kids are around roughly the same age, my oldest, and I've gotten to really see so much in her that is like inspiring to me as I've been coming through as a new member of this community here in Summit in New Jersey, and just we have so much in common around our wellness and things like that. So, but that's my story of how I know you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and the kind of work that you are doing in the world of wellness right now?
Of course. Yes. Thank you for having me. This is really fun for me. I am a holistic health coach. So I am basically working with females, busy women and their children, who have gut issues or just aren't feeling quite right, or just want to have a little bit of a better handle on movement and nutrition. So I've been in the fitness industry for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I combine that somatic approach with that mindfulness, movement, breath work, nutrition, and I kind of package it and help them with just identifying what their health goals are and then helping them to make that an everyday thing. And this kind of goes hand in hand with if they've had some gut issues and they've gone to the doctor and they get a diagnosis or not, and they get all this information, and then they're kind of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How do I do it all? How does it make sense? I can just help them digest it, pun intended.
Literally.
And put them on a roadmap that fits in their lifestyle, right? That kind of fits with where they are at that time and at that space. And it's kind of fun because everyone is a little bit different, because some people need a little bit more guidance with nutrition, or maybe they're totally nailing that space and they need a little bit more guidance with their movements and their mindset and their breath work and their meditation. Or maybe they don't like meditation, so they journal because that's still meditating. So it's been really fun for me. It's been really fun. And I love working with women.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, men, but like, I love you guys, but like I can't help you. I'm not that good at servicing.
This is the house that's on fire. We help that first.
Yeah, I'm going to help this one, and then it's going to help everybody.
Yeah. Oh, I really loved hearing how, when you were telling me the stuff that you've been doing lately, how it is kind of this holistic, and holistic is a very much a buzzword, and we all know that it's kind of like healthy, or what does it mean? Obviously holistic means whole, like the whole body, because when you and I had met, we were both talking about kind of like foods that were just bothering us, and it was kind of the beginning of my journey when I didn't realize that even when I was getting the food world under control and dealing with food sensitivities, there were so many other tools that were needed to complement that, like the breath work, the meditation. And that's when the game change started happening for me. Is that like your experience too?
Yeah. So it's kind of a wild ride, right? I mean, I got here because of all of my gut issues years ago. And then full circle, I have a daughter who's now a young adult, and she went through something similar yet different in the last few years. Right? Different diagnoses, but still a lot of the same, trying to figure it all out. And what works for me doesn't necessarily work for her, right? So it's a roundabout way of coming back to that whole thing. And yes, holistic is a buzzword. A lot of the things I think that we do and we talk about are buzzwords, but it's really, once you can figure out that there's a lot more to it than just one thing, there's no quick fix, right? If there was a magic pill, if there was a quick fix, we'd all be in a whole different spot. It'd be great, but it doesn't happen. And it ties right into the entire why I work with females and why we do what we do, right? We have an inner wisdom and we have bio-individuality. We're all different. Even if we're really, really alike, we're all different. Even the same diagnosis can have a very different feel. If you are stressed, if you are not listening to your body, So when I work with clients, I layer in another buzzword, but it's cycle syncing. I mean, truly, it's what it is.
Oh,
It's
love
knowing you
that.
have a
Yes.
cycle, it's knowing where your body's at, and it's making sure that maybe one week's a little different than the next. Maybe you don't
Hmm.
intermittent fast
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
don't do that 2 weeks in a row because why would you do that when your body's really craving a little something? So, like, there's
Yeah.
a whole process, right? But it's all really just individualized. But as long as you know what's going on in your body, where you're at, how you're feeling, we can take anything and we can make it simpler. We can make it
Yeah.
work for somebody. We really can. And we can feel good in our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that word you said too around the cycles is so key that I'm seeing just as myself as a woman, how, what was working for me in my 20s to
Yeah.
help and support me, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is not working anymore because of course we're hormonal or just different amount of sleep we're getting or
Yep.
whatever's happening in life. And I think I want to acknowledge that because that's so important to say. I see so many women kind of like hit a wall and get so frustrated with like certain things that worked before not working
Hmm.
anymore. Or they're like, well, I was never allergic to this
Yeah.
ever before. It's
Yeah.
impossible. I couldn't be allergic to it now. It's like, oh, maybe,
Yeah.
like isn't that so wild? Like how
Yep.
even the age thing or just different phases of motherhood or
Yeah.
whatever,
It's all of
it's
it,
all
right?
new.
Yeah. It's right when you think you have it figured out,
Yeah.
something else, and you're like, but wait a minute, that's not me. That works. I can tolerate dairy. I can do HIIT workouts. I can do, and then
Right.
all of a sudden you're like, maybe no. Maybe
Yeah.
that's not what you need right now. And then that
Yeah.
tiny little fix. Or there's a lot of amazing mainstream information coming at us now as women. There's a lot
Yeah.
more empowerment in the functional medicine field. Like you're hearing a lot more about
Yeah.
talking about women and how they're not little men, like that, we are different and we shouldn't
Yeah.
be following all their research. And then we get all excited. So we're all thinking, yes, we need all of that protein in the morning and we all need to do a HIIT class and we all need to intermittent fast. And these are great tools in the toolbox. But then you have somebody who's maybe in their 40s and they're starting to do all of those things and they're gaining weight when they
Hmm.
never gained weight before.
Hmm.
But they're still doing it. And then they're not realizing that that's stressing out their body. So
Yeah.
they're in this like heightened level of stress. And this can trickle down to the 18-year-old
Hmm.
who is in a whole nother mindset and they're eating a certain way and they're moving a certain way, but they're really stressed out about maybe schoolwork or a new job or going to college.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden their body's breaking down in a different way. Maybe they're losing weight or they're having these terrible
Right.
tummy troubles.
Yeah.
And if we could just kind of tap into where they're at, like maybe you don't need to take the SAT when you are full on in your menstrual cycle.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what if you
More
took that? Yeah,
intentional
yeah,
awareness
yeah,
around planning
yeah.
and ownership of like your life a little bit. Like,
Yes,
wow, I can kind of shift how I show up for a big project I'm doing or a big family event. Maybe we can just have, even if I know we can't control everything, but
yeah,
like it's that beautiful awareness. And I think that's
yeah,
especially you were saying how you've been working with teens a bit as well. And like like this took me to my 40s to like really
same,
like get
same.
a handle on responsibility for my health and wellness and wealth and all the things that just seemed like not a natural skill of that we have. I think I just absolutely love that there's like this connection that you have with supporting that generation
And
because
and they have to learn to give themselves grace, right? That's something I don't think you think about until you are older, is
yeah,
like allowing for just being okay with how you are at that moment in that day. Like it's okay to
yeah,
not wake up and be your peppy self every single day. It doesn't mean
right,
anything's wrong.
right,
It means that we cycle and we
yeah,
cycle every month and it's okay.
yeah,
And I think a lot of social media, there are a lot of great tools out there. TikTok
mhm,
for these girls and even for, the 30, 40, 50-year-olds. We've got a lot of great content. We have a lot of crazy content too, but we have a lot
yeah,
of great content that comes our way and we're pretty excited about it. And I do think it empowers the younger generations a little bit more, but then they're missing the self-awareness piece. So they're
yeah,
taking the information from this person that's supposed to know so much, this expert,
right,
but they're forgetting that we have this amazing ability to tap into how we feel and see what our gut's telling us, and
yeah,
then figure out, like, merge the two. Take what they're
yeah.
saying and figure out what works for you and leave what doesn't.
That's so important. I think that model of discernment of like listening to like, does this work? Like, my 16-year-old was talking about some TikTok that came through about, well, all these cultures around the world are doing parasite cleanses and we're supposed to do these parasitic cleanses. I go, okay, I'm like, that's interesting. Now you take that and you research it and
Yes.
like figure
Yes.
out if this applies, if
Yep.
this is something that's healthy for your body. Like
Yep.
just maybe speak to professionals about this as well. Like, don't just go cleansing things
Yep.
that you don't
Yep.
know what's going on.
It's so true.
Oh my gosh. Well, that segues so nicely into my first question that I have for my guests here on Wisdom Women, because I feel like to have that self-awareness and intentional planning of your life takes a bit of empowerment, in a world that is slightly getting on the path of doing that. Each person, all these great memes and inspirational, like, I feel like it's the equivalent of those kitten posters we saw
It
all the time,
is. Yes,
these
it
great
is.
quotes and messages that come out. But for you, I would love to know, and I don't know this answer because I've never asked you this question, who were your role models that like really brought you into this space of getting to where you are today, of around women's empowerment, and or the opposite, that
Yeah.
showed you what not to be?
It's so funny because the two that popped into my head right away, one really was showing me what not to be,
Mm.
and then one was it's a pretty cliche idea, but it's the mom who shows you what you can be, right?
Yeah.
Um, so the first one was she was one of my supervisors. She was my boss.
Mm.
Second job out of college. So the first real career start for me. I mean, I was at
Mhm.
that company for probably, I don't know, 7 to 10 years. And she was a rock star boss. Like she was a rock star. She led an entire team. She was a director at the company, like sky's the limit kind of a boss lady. Um, but but to a fault for me. So after working with her for, again, 7 to 10 years, I learned an amazing amount. I credit her with me not thinking that there was any limit to what a woman could do. Like I did not think twice about if I maybe wanted to own my own company or whatever I wanted to do. And I think that was a lot to do with how she presented herself. Because I was, a couple of years out of college, walking into
Yeah.
this big building in New York City, and she had the big office at the end, and she did it all. She was this tiny little thing. She was like 5 foot, tiny little petite thing, but a powerhouse, who really, played with the big boys. But she acted like the big boy. She
Mm.
didn't play with the big boys and own the fact that she was a female. She played with the big boys and showed up like she was a male because it
Mm.
was a male world. I used to I don't know that I knew back then how much I was kind of watching and kind of absorbing, but in hindsight, that showed me a lot too, because I don't want to show up and play with the big boys and pretend I'm them. I want to show up as me
Yeah.
and own that we also have something to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I think she always kind of pushed aside that feminine side to a point where there wasn't that collaborative kind of warm feeling ever.
Mm.
Um, Ever, even if there were no men in the room.
Right.
Maybe once in a blue moon, yes, the guard would drop down a little bit and there'd be a little bit of a nurturing feel, but not much. So amazing as she was, it showed you that it did not matter if you were male or female, you could be in that big office in the corner. But I feel like I used to look at other executives and think, what about them do I like too? What is it that made that woman kind of get to that point and this one get to this point? And what could I take from that? There was just a different edge to her that was critical at that time, probably she thought for her, but missing that piece that would have, I think, brought more camaraderie and ultimately kept more of us there as opposed to having us leave. So that was number one.
Ah, love
Yeah.
that.
But a boss woman, like like amazingly, like taught me the value of hard work ethic, show up, do what you need to do to keep pushing on. There was never a feeling like you couldn't do it. Just
Right.
there's a different way,
A different
maybe
way.
a softer
Yeah.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then my mom is the other one.
I feel like we would get in trouble if we don't.
I mean, I don't,
But
I
it
guess we
is
would.
showing the importance, honestly, most of my guests. But
That's
tell me about your
interesting.
mom.
That's
Tell me about.
interesting. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting that that's most guests too, in a
Oh,
good
yeah.
way, right? But because I think that they fill a different gap sometimes, maybe, right? So she was a stay-at-home mom. She chose to be a stay-at-home mom in the 70s, different kind of a feel, like no big, huge network of moms going to book club or anything. And she was always this unwavering presence. She held space
Mm.
when
Hmm.
you didn't realize space needed to be held. Like she was going to be at that table when you needed her. I have no idea what she was doing before that. She could have been like running to get to the table because she heard me get home. But like, she held space and was a constant and still is, right? So it was more about being physically present and emotionally present more than anything else. It wasn't conversations about you can be anything you want to be. And I think that part maybe she sensed was already taken care of. I don't know, but she filled a big void where it was you're loved and I'm here
Mm.
and more of that kind of emotional piece of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, rock star, like
Presence.
I could not just be that calm presence in the room and not have to do 17 other things. So, yeah.
It's right. The energy of being present though in the middle of all
Yeah.
that. And I know like, people have complicated relationships with their moms and even still love my mom. It's complicated at
Yes.
times. And but
Yes.
like seeing how much of an impact that this role, I feel like I should call it like our mother's daughters like, stuff, because we really do get so much um not just inspiration but like modeling
Yes.
of what's possible as a woman
Yeah.
too. And I know we both have boys, but you have a daughter. I don't have a daughter, but like I can see that there is like this cycle of continuity of that feminine empowerment energy, like around what you're saying about your mom, that presence
Yeah.
and just that energy of love and holding space, which I would never have, like, for me, I always think it's these women's circles and it's kind of like, or coaching somebody and kind of having that meditation time with them. But your mom, it sounds like, was doing that just, at snack time.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of that is
Yeah.
that's being of service. That is empowered, right? To say
Yeah.
I can sit here and know everything will get done. I'm here with you right now.
Yeah. It's a
That
nice combo because I feel like you take that one boss that really impacted me, who was
Yeah.
about the, work ethic and the do things and you can be these things but like in a tougher, harder, masculine way.
Yeah.
And then you'd have this stay-at-home mom who I'm sure she complained, I just don't remember it,
Yeah.
right? But would be there consistently for the rides and for,
Mm.
the things that you needed to do your reports or whatever it was. Even the downtime to be there to just be like, okay, yeah, I'll pick you up and you can come home. And just
Yeah.
like a constant through college, through when I moved out and worked in the city, always still, even when I had children, all of a sudden the babysitter fails or somebody's sick and I have an appointment, show up, be there, hold space, a
Mm-hmm.
really calming presence in the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of a really nice, I think maybe that's what allowed me to do a little bit of both, right? Have a
Right.
business and be a mom
Yeah.
and figure out a little bit of that.
Do you, and you're saying that and sharing that, which was really sweet. Thank you. I think that there's this, sometimes in this generation, in our generation, that we can sometimes look at that as like, well, you're not fulfilled and you're not you're not empowered because that's like, you just felt you had to do that as an obligation. And there is some that sure, like are trying to explore that. But I think there's what I'm hearing more than anything with a lot of the guests here and their moms is like the ones that did stay home, like really chose it,
Yeah.
like really enjoyed it most of the time, maybe. So that is something to behold, where she can hold the space, not giving you
Yeah.
the expectation to do the same, but saying like, I'm here for whatever you got
Yeah.
as a mom.
I think they owned it. I don't know what it is. Like that was
Yeah.
their job and they owned it. I think maybe we have more grappling back and forth. And when I say we, I mean like you and I in our kind of generation of
Mm-hmm.
moms who chose to sort of be home.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm the moms who decided to go back to work, actually them too, right? Like I feel like we all live in this like little bit of an in between because of everything around us, maybe because of the advancement of women in the workplace, but also what
Mm.
we did before we had children.
Yeah.
I think we didn't own it the same way. So we would question ourselves no matter what we did. We're questioning ourselves. Whereas these moms with this calm presence that kind of owned where they were, like they just accepted it.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm seeing it more and more, like with the younger moms that are coming in through, like they're like, I am a mom. Like this is a job. This is a lot
Yes.
of work.
Yeah.
And I'm an artist, you know, and I've have discipline around figuring that out and how I bring that into my life. I am not a 9 to 5 or commuting,
Yeah.
or one says I am. Like it's almost like that self-awareness is getting better. But I feel like I was in the generation where if I sit at home that I've given up my career, and it's like, no, well, maybe this was just a new season
Yeah.
of like that, taking my energy, my presence, and putting it here. And when that's done, it's done, or type of, like kind of knowing that nothing's permanent.
Yeah.
And your mother now, she has her own season of like independent life
She
now.
does. Don't try to call her when it's bingo day because she is not going to answer. Oh,
Gotta find your loves. You gotta
gotta
find
find
your
them. Gotta find
passions.
them all.
So what would you say kind of in a nutshell you feel like from your boss and your mom, and are the traits of empowerment that you would sort of share with your daughter, and kind of look to teach her as well?
Confidence.
Mm,
There's a confidence in, when I say confidence, I mean confidence in knowing yourself, which I think is really hard to own as women sometimes, but because we're work in progress sometimes, right? We're always kind of trying to figure out who we are. Um, but there is a certain type of confidence in the things you believe in and your values. And I think if you know your values, right? For my old boss, she valued a hard work ethic. She valued a paycheck. She valued a title, and
mhm.
she had confidence in when she was in alignment with those things and doing things to push her towards them, she was winning. For my
Yeah.
mom, there's a confidence in knowing that her job, I guess she would say, because I had asked her about it, is more about nurturing. So there was a confidence in that. So when I say confidence, I don't mean you have to be this like type A, crazy confident,
Right.
like
Extrovert, like I'm
extrovert,
here.
assertive. I just mean in confidence that you're living in alignment with your values.
Hmm.
Right. So I feel
I
like
love that.
that and vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think vulnerability like is such a big one. And not vulnerability where you think someone's going to like don't let
Right.
somebody take advantage
Walk
of
all
you.
over you.
I
Right.
think there's a vulnerability in saying I am just perfectly imperfect.
Mm,
And I like to use that phrase a lot with my clients, like perfectly imperfect.
yeah.
Nobody's got it all together. And
Hmm.
nobody necessarily knows everything they want and have gotten there and know how to get there. They don't have the path. So I think when we can give each other grace again and understand that there is a piece of all of us that's vulnerable and that we're all just kind of trying to do our best, there comes this empowerment, almost like a community feel to it, that you can look at somebody and say, oh, you know what? We're all trying to do our best and they're a little vulnerable. And I see that and I respect that. I love that somebody shared that. I think it gives us all a little bit more of that confidence to empower us to do things.
It's contagious. I
Yeah.
love it. You're right. It's so sweet around that vulnerability is. I think people think it means it's humiliating or something, or I'm gonna be unsafe in some ways. When really, I mean, my opinion of vulnerability too is like saying, I need a teacher. I'm not sure what to do, or I need a coach, or
Yep.
I need to research this a little bit. Like that's hard for a lot of people to say like that. I just don't know.
I think that's
And
a big one. I think that's hard for a lot of people. Like we have this. I think a lot of people shy away from talking to peers, other professionals in their industry,
mhm.
and there's so much to go around, right? There's so much that we can learn from each other, and there's so much that we can gain in just being a little bit vulnerable.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that message. Thanks so much for sharing that. Oh, this was a breath of fresh air. Well, I'm going to bring us into our next segment here where we get to
Exciting.
pull a card together.
Love this.
So I pulled out since season 3 of this is wrapping, and this is like my go-to deck that I love so much. Kim Kranz, I'm sure
Oh,
you've seen
awesome.
these,
Yes.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
her animal, and she has many different versions of these cards. But I brought out the animal ones today just because I don't know. These are like very summertimey cards to me. And it's like all the animals. And I did tell you, I saw a humpback whale last weekend off the coast out at
That's
Seagirt,
so cool.
New Jersey.
Really?
It went up and like breached. I was like, I'm going to start using my animal cards.
Yeah.
Like that's,
Yes, yes.
there's so much
That's so
beauty in
awesome
that.
to see.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
almost got it on camera, but I didn't. But anyways, dolphins were there. I'm sure you've seen,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's really pretty. New Jersey just had some action last weekend. I just couldn't believe it. Besides lots of things. All right. So I'm going to clear the cards and I'm just going to start shuffling these very, very used and worn cards. And you can just take a breath. And whenever you feel inclined for me to stop, just say stop.
Stop.
Okay. Oh, we got the meow, the tiger.
Oh, I got the tiger.
Nice fire sign there
It
going
is a
on
fire sign.
with the crescent moon. So thinking of cycles, I love
Oh, I
that.
love.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to find fire sign for tiger. I was watching this beautiful video about tigers the other day. It came and the whole point was that tigers are not as social as lions are. And they had at a zoo a lion in with a tiger, which they can do that. And the lion's just laying all over the tiger. And the tiger's like, ah, just like, give me some
Oh, yeah.
space. And like, you just did like a deadpan into the camera, like, are you
Oh, that's
serious?
so funny. That's so
The
funny.
lion's just like a cat, like snuggles, it rolls on you. That was very cute. Okay. Looking for the tiger. Of course, it's going to be the last one. Here we go. Oh, okay. Oh, so this is all feminine energy. I love this. As we were talking about cycles.
Yeah.
Okay, so tiger represents the lunar force, ease in the darkness, and the feminine energy. The tiger hunts at night, at one with the silence, fearing nothing. This card reminds us to take in the wild darkness, to allow the lunar forces to soothe and heal our spirits. Sensuality, receptivity, and devotion are all heightened in the midnight hour, and the tiger takes advantage of these boons. Spend some time in silence this evening, drinking in the potent calm. There's nothing to fear in the stillness except the awakening of your own power. Wow. When it's in balance, when the energy of the tiger is in balance, there's passionate, strong, sensual. When it's out of balance, you can feel overstimulated.
Oh.
And it says to bring into balance, do trataka. Remember candle gazing? That's like one of the, have you ever heard of that, like as a form of meditation?
We're going to have homework after this.
I don't know if I'm saying it right. Trataka.
I love it. You know,
Yeah.
I am a big fan of moon
What do you
cycles.
think?
And I believe, I mean, there's research behind it too, so I believe it, but there's also research on how we cycle with the moon. And if you took a bunch of females and put them out in some wilderness camping ground place, and they all had different starts to their menstrual cycle. After about a month or so, or 2 months of being out in the wilderness, they would all cycle with the moon. And like you can apply the same thing to women when they get to a certain age and they don't necessarily have a cycle.
Yeah.
They still cycle with the moon. And I have a very powerful connection to that. Yeah, love the moon.
I think there's wisdom in that. I feel that I'm 100% on board with what you're saying, because the more I connect with just awareness around it, I'll put it in my Google Calendar and stuff, things are easier. Like I just have awareness around, okay, I'm in my luteal phase. And when I start syncing up with the moon, it almost seems more amplified to be in a space of healing, better intuition, because we're going back to the new moon. Like, do you use any apps or anything to kind of?
I used to get
connect
journals,
with it, or just
like
look
Lunar
online
Abundance.
and
Amazing. And on Moonology, like I have some of the books that might be behind me. But no, I'm sure there are some amazing apps out there. I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some great apps out there that are kind of
I haven't done it, but I know that could be
types,
fun.
and I wonder if they layer in anything with the moon. I'm guessing if they didn't, you probably could, but yeah. An app idea. I know, we just came up with it.
It sounds like a business idea. Well, like to give you little advice each day of how to, even if your body isn't synced up with the moon. I don't know. There's just some like interesting wisdom in there,
that.
I think.
Yay.
So something to, well, thank you for
I'll be
sharing
quiet tonight.
that.
I'll sit in some silence.
Meowing and loving this.
Candle gazing.
Candle gazing. I really love that. When I'm like not feeling comfortable 100% to shut my eyes, or I'm just too wired or something, I like that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
More in the winter.
Okay,
but anyway.
so I just wrapped up.
Please tell us what you
stuff.
have coming
I
up,
mentioned
how
I have
people
an
can
18-year-old
find
and
you.
she's getting ready to go to college. So I am fully immersing myself in being present with her this summer. So I will have fall
Yeah.
activities. They will be posted on my website mid-July to end of July, probably. I'll have my events for September kickoff on. And you can find me at Jo Marie, that's my name, JOMARIE _wellness on Insta, and JoMarieWellness.com. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a spot when you go onto the website,
Okay,
there's a
great.
spot where
And
I can
can
capture
we
your
subscribe
email
to your
and I will
email
be able
list
to
or
send you
something? You
guys. I
send
do a
out
once a
something like
month
that.
newsletter. And then 4 times a year, I'll
Oh, good.
do sort of a recipe movement, kind of embrace the season type thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's just enough. And then
Wow.
you'll find little tidbits
Oh, I
here and
love
there on
that.
Insta.
Oh, that's just enough. Just
Yeah.
enough. Yes, yes, I love your videos and it has such great wisdom in there. So, well, thank you so much, Jo Marie, for coming and sharing all of your stories and your empowerment experiences on here. I really, really am so
I know I
grateful
love
to
this
have you as a
journey, so thank
friend
you.
and to have fun and get to share you as a friend with everybody on here now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. So, oh, well, thank you, everybody. If you have any other questions, I'll put all of these links in the details on here. Like and subscribe to Wisdom Women. Reach out to Jo Marie. Just jump on her email list because it's such a great amount of information that you can get onto the items of what she wellness journey. And I think that's it. So that's great. Bye.